which is your favorite area? Because everybody has his favorite.
Yeah.
For example, my favorite area is Shantiniketan. My favorite area of doing business is Jorbaag. Which is your favorite area where it's easier to do business?
Favorite area is whichever area the client is open to sort of take our recommendations fully to the tilt. जिसमें कोई budget में hurdles नहीं आते, कोई time पे hurdles नहीं आते. All of that area.
How much people or your clients think about maintenance of such homes post handover? Because उसको भी maintain करके रखना है for a longer period of time.
People do, and we also keep that in mind when we are selecting materials. And when a client approaches us, right? So in our first few conversations, we also sort of understand how the client is in terms of maintenance. Because a lot of clients are neat freaks, जैसे कहते हैं, they like to घर पे सफाई रखना, सब कुछ करना. कुछ लोग होते नहीं करते, the couple है, they are doing a job, they don't have time to look into the house. So even materials we recommend based on how a client's nature is in terms of post care of the stuff. You don't want to recommend a really expensive material and बाद में उसकी maintenance ही ना हो, तो that will be as good as not doing it then after 6-8 months.
What do you feel is the importance of kitchens and bathrooms in today's environment for people who are really going all out for a home?
Again, like I said, kitchens is something which used 3 to 4 times a day, right? And most of our clients have staff which is using it, they have house helps which are using it. So like I said, mentioned earlier in one of your earlier questions that, the quality of hardware which you use in kitchens is very, very important, because, with help and everyone using the kitchens, it will be subjected to rough usage. Because the multiple using, even if, say any 4-5 people using one item, there is going to be different usage.
Definitely.
So us pe issue hota hai. So I always recommend use again your hand-bake, half-lay, again readily available, best in class.
Now from the design and aesthetic, what I feel is in a home, interiors, when you talk about furniture, loose movable furniture is also a lot of importance when it comes to aesthetic. What is your say, and how do you feel things are changing in today's environment?
So of course, loose furniture plays a very, very important part of it. Having said that, loose furniture is something which, ideally some of our clients would want to sort of change with over time, right? You get bored of certain upholstery, not change the entire set, but upholstery and all, polish and all can be changed easily. It's not too much of an hassle, unlike say doors or panelings, all just big hassle hota hai. And with materials these days, I mean, honestly, what sort of materials we are using here is probably at par with any good European furniture manufacturer, who's doing it. So materials, your fabrics, your polishes, they are at par. मतलब जो use हो रही हैं, it is not even like, इधर थोड़ा कम है, बल्कि थोड़ा शायद ज़्यादा ही हो जो हम कर रहे हैं.
That's very good to know.
Absolutely, because Indians love to spend money on the house, So in general, house is something which is a very prestigious sort of thing for, especially North Indians,
Definitely.
And, So I mean, material-wise, design-wise, quality-wise, it is absolutely at par with any European country, city or country we talk about.
All right. So when we talk about farmhouses, every farmhouse may be different. And there's a lot of changes when we talk about the size of farmhouses, because farmhouses in Delhi start right from about 1,000 square yards, can go up to 11, 12, 15 acres as well. So when we talk about farmhouses and mini farms, because maintenance of these farmhouses become difficult, a lot of my clients eye at 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 kind of size. So because it's manageable at least for a family, and with specifically nuclear families. What do you feel design and architecture is achievable, or one would still need to compromise because the land sizes are smaller?
So covered area, you don't have to compromise, because if you talk about a nuclear family and you talk about anywhere between say 1,000 to 1,500 square yards, you will get a covered area of anywhere from say 12 to 16-18,000 square foot, which should be more than enough. What is where you need to compromise is your open areas, your garden, your swimming pools. You might not get a swimming pool. You might not get a really massive garden. You might not get a really massive driveway, for that matter. So those are the parts which you might have to compromise on. And then, but then there are other parts, so we can use the terrace for a lot of things because open area हमें उधर मिल जाता है. Terrace gardens बहुत अच्छे बनते हैं. So so it is about balancing it. किसमें क्या मिलता है. Having said that, 1000 और 1500 is massive spaces, to be honest, to do a lot of good work at,
Definitely.
So, ऐसा कुछ ये नहीं होता कि हमें compromise करना पड़ेगा. Of course, but the scale एक 2 एकड़ 3 एकड़ के farm house में आता है, वो तो नहीं मिलेगा, obviously.
Definitely. Now that we understand, what do you feel when we, this is from people who are buying older houses or builder floors. Typically, when one is buying an older home, he would like to renovate it to look as good as new. Is it possible? And typically, how much time would it take for let's say 1,000 square yard floor in Vasant Vihar to be renovated?
So now when you talk about renovation, again, there are a couple, like I said, in design, nothing is straightforward.
Yeah.
So cost is not straightforward. Time though is clearly not straightforward because living in Delhi, कभी grab होता है, कभी pollution का लग जाता है, labor issues, every month there is some holiday or the other for some, festival or the other going
Definitely.
on. So वो तो issue रहता है. So time is obviously something very difficult to commit. But again, हमारा starting point क्या है वो हमें पता करना पड़ता है. Is our starting point that we have to, is it that old that we need to strip down all the services?
Okay.
Do we need to take out all the wires and put in new wires? Do we need to take out pipes and put in new pipes? हम उस स्टेज पे हैं कि हम इस स्टेज पे हैं कि हमारी पाइप्स एंड ऑल ठीक है, अब हमें दीवार के अंदर कुछ नहीं करना, दीवार के ऊपर करना है.
Okay.
तो देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइमलाइंस बिकॉज इफ वी हैव टू चेंज द वायर्स एंड ऑल, देन एक होता है डिमोलिशन का मतलब डिमोलिशन का टाइम लगता है कि हम सब कुछ तोड़ेंगे, निकालेंगे, फिर री इंस्टॉल करेंगे, तो उसका एक टाइम पीरियड आता है. एंड देन
और कई घरों के पास तो इलेक्ट्रिकल ड्राइंग्स ही नहीं होती कि किस तरीके से.
एब्सोल्युटली. सो वो एक चैलेंज रहता है. Having said that, अगर मैं आपके इस क्वेश्चन में एक assumption लूं कि I need to strip it down, I need to sort of take all the wires and put in new wires, 1000 square yard में आपका covered area कितना निकलता है आज की डेट में builder floors में? About 5,000?
About 6.5.
6,500. So 6,500 square foot पे you're looking at anywhere between, stripping it down, and I'm considering there's no grab, there's no stoppage, all of that aspect, you're looking at fully ready by say about 7 to 8 months का time period you're looking at.
All right.
Yeah. And 2 months पहले हो सकता है अगर आपकी मेरे को सर्विसेज में छेड़ना ना पड़े. बट आज की डेट में अगर आप पूरा फैंसी कर रहे हैं, if you're getting it luxurious, I would need to touch services, I need to put automation wires, I need to put internet, I need to put cameras, I need to put all those systems in place.
All right.
Yeah. So wiring मेरे को छेड़नी ही पड़ेगी, चाहे आप जितनी मर्जी उसको बोले कि मत करो ये करो, बट हाँ मतलब so anywhere between say 6 to 8 months you're looking at the time period, turnaround period, if the workflow is not disturbed.
All right. Majorly, which is your favorite area? Because everybody has his favorite.
Yeah.
For example, my favorite area is Shantiniketan. My favorite area of doing business is Jorbagh. Which is your favorite area where it's easier to do business or execute business, and you feel that the people are testing new waters, people are doing crazy stuff, people are doing a lot of testing with new items.
Yeah. So favorite area is whichever area the client is open to sort of take our recommendations fully to the tilt, जिसमें कोई budget में hurdles नहीं आते, कोई time पे hurdles नहीं आते, all of that area. So ऐसा, see, for us it's very different. There's no particular area as such, because when we go inside the house, अब वो घर कहीं पर भी Lutins में हो, farmhouse में हो, it's
but getting material into Lutyens Delhi may be difficult.
So
or it may have its own
again for
nuances.
us, like farmhouses also have that same issue in Delhi.
Yes,
of course, that. But for that's a blessing in disguise for us.
Okay.
I'll tell you the reason behind it is because then the clients are also in an urgency to close the project ASAP.
All right.
So your approvals get fast tracked. Everything gets fast tracked in that project, and those are the best kind of projects.
Okay.
जिसमें सारी डिसीजंस आर फास्ट ट्रैक. कुछ जैसे हमने मूड बोर्ड बनाया, 3Ds बनाई, अप्रूवल्स जल्दी मिलते हैं. क्या तो क्या होता है, बहुत टाइम क्लाइंट होता है, वी सेंड सम 3Ds फॉर एग्जांपल टू क्लाइंट, And they're like, okay, let me get back. I'm traveling. My wife is not here. My son needs to look into that. My daughter is going to come back from uni. All those aspects come in. But जहाँ पर farm house है या Latins Delhi है, where there is a timeline का crunch, so उसमें approvals easily मिल जाते हैं. So that is something which works in our favor, is because then वो fast track हो जाता है project. And those are the best projects which you can get in and out quickly. जो projects get lingered on, those are the worst kind of projects.
Okay.
जिसपे approvals के लिए एक marble selection के लिए एक महीना लग जाता है कभी-कभार.
All right.
Absolutely.
So what do you feel, and with the newer, because Delhi does not have high-rise apartments, and people in Gurgaon are talking about high-rise apartments. What I still feel, when I try to educate my clientele, is you paying for something, and there's a difference between super and carpet areas. But do you feel apartments have a different aesthetic, or is it still available, still achievable in the Delhi builder flow market or the villa market, or is it that for example, Camellias and Aralias would have a different look and feel, or that can be still achieved in the houses and the farmhouses here in Delhi?
It definitely can be achieved. Interior-wise, it can be achieved. Of course, the view, the whole expanse of, say, standing on a 16th floor on a Camellias cannot be achieved. Delhi में 3rd floor या 4th floor आपका अगर है तो वो achieve नहीं होगा. But interior-wise, so there are no restrictions. Of course, if the size is the same, like 1,000 square yard is pretty comparable to what a Camellias is, about 6,000 square foot, 6 to 6.5, whatever square foot. So
but in Camellias, you need to buy 12,000 square feet to achieve a 6,000 square.
I'm talking about carpet. Yes, वो आपके price.
Sorry, that's my broken language.
So वो आपके price point के लिए आप calculation basis पे करते हैं, but हमारे लिए वो carpet area ही होता है, because we don't charge covered area में और super area में, हम carpet area पे ही करते हैं जो करते हैं. So of course it can be achieved, and as per your point के apartments पे, apartment is something which we've noticed where people are more open to try new things.
Okay.
Because when you talk about, because experimentally, people are open to sort of, going for the minimal look or a Japandi look or a Scandinavian look or micro concreting or all of that materials. Villas, farmhouses, generally people are not. Generally people we want to play it safe. I want a really nice neoclassical house.
Okay.
लगना चाहिए कोई मतलब UK में villa type है, the countryside. So people like that sort of general sense. Of course, there's no thumb rule. They can be vice versa. But generally what I've noticed in my experiences, apartments, people are more willing to, let's try something new.
All right.
That is something which apartments people generally would do.
Okay. Have you ever come across a client, because it's too intriguing for me to understand, aesthetic and design from you. Has anybody come as a client to you and said, I don't care about the budget, I don't care about the design, the house should look nice?
Yeah, most of them.
Okay.
So most of the clients, that's the first meeting. Second meeting, third meeting का change हो जाता है. But
yeah. Thought provoking, तो आपका first design ही होगा मेरे ख्याल.
So absolutely. So most of the clients, when we propose the first cut, most of them, in fact, where budget is usually out of the window, it's really like, show me what can look the best in this area, and that's where our expertise comes in.
Definitely.
Where they don't care about the time, the budget, and time and budget are related, So that's why I say time and budget. So most of our clients are like that. Where it is pretty much like, show me whatever best can be done. चाहे वो एक lounge बना रहे हैं कमरे का, चाहे वो एक पूरा 40,000 square foot का farm house बना रहे हैं. So,
okay. What do you feel should be a safeguard for people when they are choosing an interior contractor for themselves or interior agency for themselves? What is the safeguard that they should keep in their mind? Or what are the loopholes that they should keep in their mind while they are choosing an agency?
So interior, there are no particular loopholes because, honestly, interior's job is basically to issue drawings in 3D. So it's done from the office. If you talk about pretty much what an interior's job role is, where safeguards comes in choosing the right contractor for your job, because there are a lot of loopholes.
Okay.
So for example, and that's why the interior needs to vet the contract, the BOQs and all that stuff. But as a layperson, if you go up, call 2 contractors to your house, if you don't have a design on board, and say, boss, because ye karana hai, you show them pictures, I want this reference, I want this room. Now, one contractor would quote you, say, 3,000 rupees a square foot. The other contractor would quote you 5,000 rupees a square foot for the same thing. Now, as a customer or a consumer, if you choose the 3,000 rupee contractor, he might end up taking him very easily to 6,000 rupees.
Okay.
So because there are so many, अगर BOQ आपका watertight नहीं है,
Okay.
अगर उसमें हर चीज, हर specification, हर measurement, every small thing is not taken into account.
Okay.
Like for example, if I am doing a house, we even take the scaffolding rent into account.
Okay. Makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
So you know when you're doing POP, क्या होता है, डबल हाइट है, उस पे आपका scaffolding लगती है, कुछ लगता है. POP मैंने आपको रेट दे दिया है, जितने की POP उतना scaffolding की रेंट भी है.
जी.
But वो suppose जो contractor is quoting उसे 3,000, he's not taken that into account. वो आपके BOQ में mention नहीं था.
Suddenly you'll come out, get a call कि boss we need.
And you'll not be able to say anything because आपके BOQ में mention नहीं था.
True. Understand.
So it's not his fault. It's not your fault. So you know a lot of times India, because so you know people care about the last number दिखा दो कितना है, अंदर कोई पढ़ना नहीं चाहता क्या इंक्लूजन है क्या नहीं, मेरे को एंड बता दो कितना है, 3,000 है, 5,000 है, तो 3,000 अब 5,000 ने शायद अपने ओके डबल हाइट पढ़ ली, उधर स्कैफोल्डिंग लिख दिया, अपना आइटम ऐड कर दिया, वो no one will check.
Okay. Which is why I recommend my clients to associate with professionals so that they know what they're going and they are not surprised. You know, everybody would as much money, no matter how much money you have in the pocket, but for every project there's a set budget.
Yeah.
It may vary 10-15% here and there,
Yeah.
but every 1% makes a difference at one point.
Absolutely.
You know, when specifically you're going to hand over the project and the final buildings coming in.
Absolutely.
So which is why I recommend my clients to associate with professional organizations so that such surprises do not come up at a later date.
Absolutely.
You know, बहुत छोटा सा चीज बोला आपने of scaffolding, but could be a massive thing, you know, depending
It's just
on
a small example, but there are multiple such examples. You know, the
Definitely.
site क्या होते हैं, scaffolding जैसे एक एग्जाम्पल जैसे 100 items होते हैं,
Definitely.
जो बाद में जाकर ऐड होंगे. So that is where your BOQ needs to be watertight, you know, and that is in our industry. If you ask me, that is the biggest challenge.
Okay. Nitant, that now that we know a lot, we've deep dived into your business, we've seen what people actually require. What do you feel is the importance of kitchens and bathrooms in today's environment for people who are really going all out for a home?
Again, like I said, kitchens is something which use 3 to 4 times a day, right? So, and most of our clients have staff which is using it, their house helps which are using it. So like I said, you know, mentioned earlier in one of your earlier questions that, you know, the quality of hardware which you use in kitchens is very, very important, because, you know, with help and everyone using the kitchens, it will be subjected to rough usage, because the multiple using, even if, you know, say any 4-5 people using one item, there is going to be different usage.
Definitely.
So uspe issue hota hai. So I always recommend use again your Hatik, Hafle, again, readily available, best in class, which is a theme, you know, basically. So jo hota hai, so that
because
is,
they've standardized their qualities to a level
and it's very easy to get replacements, very easy to get good service. You can all these, most of them have AMC packages. Even your, you know, all your Grohe and your Kohler and your Jesse, all of them have AMC packages. You know, the jo bathroom fittings ke hote hain. So it's very easy to get it serviced if something goes wrong, because things do go wrong. I mean, there's no one can say that something will work perfectly. You know, things do go wrong. So uske liye it has to be, uski service achhi honi chahiye. You know?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that is something which is there, and the same goes for washrooms, where again, like I said, mentioned in another earlier snippet, that, you know, your water pressures, you know, your pipes and all have to be best in class, because you can use the most expensive materials. Agar aapke water softeners nahi lage, water heaters nahi lage upar, you know, so that could be a big issue.
Okay. And now that we're coming to a close for the first episode of our interaction with you, I want to understand how conscious have people become to the environment. For example, things like solar power, waste disposal.
Yeah.
How important people are there considering these aspects to be in their design element or their homes.
Yeah. So environmentally conscious, when you say about solar panels and waste, of course, that is something which, you know, solar panels also, I think majority of our farmhouses would have. So, I mean, flats and all, obviously apartments are mushkil hota hai, but yeah, so most of them would have, and especially sourcing from, say, environmentally conscious brands, you know, so brands which are doing a lot, you know, jinka sustainability mein thoda
Definitely.
hota hai. So those are something which, you know, clients do keep in mind. Not all of them, of course, and because our line is such which is a one-time usage sort of thing, so it's not repetitive. It's not like, say, a plastic straw jo aap, roz kar rahe hain aapko, so you want to be really conscious about that. But majority of things like power consumption ho gaya, usme people are really conscious. People want to get, say, less power consuming HVACs, less power consuming heaters, less power consuming geysers, all of that 5-star jo hota hai, so again, uspe people are really, really, concentrating on, and people want that, just say electricity, of course, ek to usage kam ho, bill mein also you save money, and sort of course, ki units come ho, so it's also environmentally friendly.
Definitely.
And as far as that, this is concerned, a lot of our projects, more than clients, we encourage a lot of natural light coming in. So, so that reduces the burden on, say, your artificial light, your LEDs and everything. So, a lot of our farmers use, if we show you some, we'll have a Brahmstan or something like that, jo vastu ke liye bhi acha hai, but it's also a good source for light. A lot of them would have a lot of natural light coming in, jo south facing hai, jo jispe general sun pura din aata hai, will be consuming a lot of natural light. So, during the day, aapko shayad light on karne ki bhi zarurat na pade. So that's how we plan the space out for you.
Nitant, now that recently in the last 3-4 years, the ceiling heights in Delhi have increased for builder floors. Earlier it used to be about 9-10 feet. Now it is about 11.5 to 12 feet. So what do you feel the cost of construction, since it's gone out, the cost of HVAC has also gone up, because obviously the more space, the more height you get, the more light you would need, the more HVACs you need to install.
Of course. So if you are doing a VRV, VRF, जो भी आप Daikin, Mitsubishi के लेते हैं, उसपे of course, the load is calculated based on the volume of the area. So each area का, our vendors, our technicians would sort of calculate how much, tonnage you need in that particular area. So of course, with any increase in volume,
definitely
there would be an increase in, say,
but then ideally maybe getting set off with the kind of designs that people are doing now.
Absolutely.
The amount of LED lights people are using,
absolutely,
and home automation, obviously.
Absolutely. So all these factors do play a very, very big deal. So
definitely. Well, thank you, Nitant. Thank you for spending so much time with me, and I'm sure that the clients, my viewers, would get a lot of input of what can they do and how they should actually plan a house.
I'm glad. I'm glad I could be of
Thanks for coming over.
No worries. Thanks, Rachit.